Welcome to the Pirate Broadcast, where we interview interesting people doing interesting things, where you can expand your connections, your community. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And let's get this party started. Wow. I'm excited for another Pirate Broadcast episode. And if you're watching this today, all the gratitude in the world, and thank you so much for being here. It's a great day to be happy, I think, because we have the happiness coach in the house. Pirate. Vernon, how are you doing, my friend?
I am great, and I love the plug. It's all about being happy. I love your tagline.
Kindness is cool and smiles are free. So that ties right in with the happiness. And I know that you've been involved in this, and you just released a book. It's exciting news, and I'm so excited to hear what you got to talk about today and talk about the happiness, because I'm all about happiness and why we should be happy and how it makes a difference in our lives. So tell us a little bit about the book and your journey getting there.
Dude, so, and thank you for this. The book was something that was not planned. I think I even mentioned it to you earlier, but it's 10 Days to Happy You, right? And I want this to be a feel guide. It is a feel guide. These are things that are actionable. These are things that I take my clients through so they can be happier, so they can be more successful, so they're not, get caught up in all the worry and all the stress. Yeah. The book, I know it's right on time with everything that's going on right now, right? Because everybody, we need those moments. As much as things are trying to get back to normal, a lot of people are just having not necessarily a tough time, but they need more moments so they can practice being positive. You don't have to work hard to find the negative. You turn on the news, you go to, social media, you go to whatever, all of a sudden you feel kind of gross, but people need to practice being positive. And that's what it is about being practiced and a nice, handy, dandy feel guide for you. That's fun. That's not a lot of hard work that you can sit back and reflect.
It's amazing because I think people, this is my journey. I've had some challenging moments in my life, and it's really about, for myself, it's gratitude. Have a little bit of gratitude, even in the smallest elements of your day, because happiness, it's a better state of mind. It's just something that you have to sometimes choose to move in that direction. You wake up and you're in a terrible mood, or whatever happens, the dog barks, the plates break, or out of coffee, whatever happens to be. And it's so easy to think, turn on the news, and it's like, oh man, it's the sky is falling kind of attitude. And it's not. It's like, take a moment, take a deep breath, and move in that direction. So having a field guide is an excellent opportunity for people to maybe think about a different state of mind. So how do you start out, and how do you start out with clients in this conversation that people are struggling with?
You said something I definitely want to comment on, and I will get to that question. It's actually a book talks about as well. It's realizing that some people think that when you're positive, when you're happy, when you're great, grateful, they think you just are born that way. And there are some people, don't get me wrong, who are like that. I wasn't one of them, right? But it takes you to sit back and be intentional with how you're going to start your day, or even if maybe you take a reset from your day. Maybe you started off positive, and then something like you mentioned, plates fall, or you got a 5-year-old son who you're probably going to hear in a few minutes at my house, who's just going to do something like, what are you doing? But you got to get yourself back to that place. Yeah. And it's exactly where the book started. It starts off about talking about happiness, because you got to understand what happiness is. A lot of times, that's my practice is called what's your happy, not my happy, not your mom's happy, not your aunt's happy. It's your happy. And regardless, whatever your happy is, because we all have a different happiness, right? We all got a different thing that makes us happy. Yeah. And it's unique to you. It's not that commercial where they say, buy this nice car and get stuck with payments for $800 for the next 4 years. No, I'm talking about that thing that lights you up. And, it's important. Like, my happy is different. I love to cook. And the best part about that is I was doing it by myself. But for me, happiness is translate into energy. Like, when you're doing those things that make you feel good, when you're sitting there practicing being gracious, having gratitude, all of a sudden you just feel better, right? You sit up right, you're smiling, your voice gets a little bit deeper, voice might get a little bit higher. But it's sitting back and just loving those things. And I do want to say this, the big thing about qualifying your happy or the thing that lights you up, makes you fun, has got to involve, it has to have these 3 rules. It's got to be a part of it. It cannot involve buying or spending. It cannot involve food or
Mm.
alcohol. And it only can involve yourself. Now, I ask that question to multiple people, and I ask that to different audiences, and everyone's hand might goes up, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, no, it makes me happy." Then I'll say, "Hey, no buying or spending, no food or alcohol, and only can involve yourself." And all of a sudden, everybody's hand drops down and get quiet. And
Yeah.
once I kind of explain things to them, they're like, "Oh, so it can't be dependent on me playing with my kids all the time." I'm like, no. I mean, don't
No.
get me wrong, that can be fun, absolutely. But you got to remember, like, you are in charge of your happiness, and you want to make sure there are no other outside variables that can inhibit that happening, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I, I I love that idea. I love those 3 qualifications because it really narrows down your thought process and what you
Yep.
have to include in the list. And I want to ask a question. It triggers a question for me, and I really want to, because this is important, I think, and
Hmm.
there's a difference between happiness and joy. And I think a lot about what the difference is, and kind of reflect on, happiness is one state of mind, and you could still find joy in small moments.
Sure.
And the same kind of qualification can attach to joy as well, I would think. What are
Hmm.
your thoughts on that?
I agree. For me, I agree with you. I look at joy as almost a celebration, right? Like,
Hmm.
because when we joy, it's celebrating the good, the great, and the unexpected. Sometimes with joy, it might not be the day, or something might not have happened that was everything that you would like, but to celebrate that moment, like, hey, you know
Yeah,
what? I'm glad we were here to show up and try. So I kind of translate joy and celebration almost interchangeably. But again, to the point, with those qualifications there, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, I guess an example for my thought process out loud is, so cooking makes you happy.
Hmm.
Serving it up might bring you joy.
That's a good way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because who doesn't like, when you're cooking and you
You
nervous
like
and
to.
calm.
I mean, sharing it with others is wonderful. And that's so important for us to understand. Is it doesn't take winning the lottery. It doesn't take a big win
Mhm.
to find joy in the day and and find a moment of happiness. And I think that for myself, even on the worst days, I also dig for gratitude. It's the gratitude and the attitude, and thanking myself and those around me for being there. And like my sister, we work together here in the house, and we're taking care of mom, and we're in Arizona, and we both work from home remote. And she brings me coffee in the morning, and it's like, I'm so grateful for her. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful. It makes me feel special that I have somebody that brings me coffee in the morning. It's like, that's really nice, and I have gratitude for that. So it sets the tone, and having conversations with people like you, Vernon, it brings gratitude, and then I find happiness in that. And then for people like that are in the room today, like Sherry Lawley, slap tags, capture those moments and savor.
Amen.
I
Yeah.
love you, Sherry. You're awesome, and I just really appreciate you being here. Good morning, Melissa Gaines. Good morning, Russ and Vernon. Absolutely love the topic.
Thank you, Melissa.
I love the fact that you're here too. And Silver Fox Talks, Darlene. Good
Good
morning, Russ
morning.
and Vernon. Thank you so much for being here. Wow. Repeat, so valuable. I need to hear this. And a lot of people need to hear this. And you have another a few events coming up that I want to talk
Yeah.
about. I want to touch base on. So Phyllis says, great rules. Love it. Always love it. So
Phyllis.
great, Cerevis. Great, Russ. Thanks for the live. Thank you so much. And Marla, Maureen Lewis, relationship building. Greetings. Ready? Greetings. Silver Fox Talks says gratitude, attitude, kindness is cool. Smiles are free. Absolutely.
You got a good group
Absolutely.
of people. I like this.
Yeah. So Darlene says, you are dearly loved, Russ. Thank you, Darlene. I love you more. I love you more. So I want to talk about some of the things people can do to activate, because I know, having been in some dark places in my life,
Mhm.
sometimes it takes more than ourselves to get to the point where we can see a new perspective, a new outlet, and a new way of thinking. So, what are some things that you're doing, Vernon, to help others maybe change their perspective, maybe change their attitude, and see a new perspective?
That's a world-class question. I'm glad you asked this. It's to your point about when we're always not going to have, rainbows and smiles all day, right? But it's what you do to make sure that when those things happen, because you best believe you're going to have something that goes the way you don't necessarily want it. It's to have things set up in advance. I think it's important to explain. And I love this quote that my mentor, taught me. There's no man or woman greater than his or her environment, right? No matter what, you can succumb to your environment. So you need to make sure you have things around you to keep you there. And it's because when you have those days that don't go the way you want, all you're going to think about is the things that can go bad, right? Like, oh, what's coming next? Oh my gosh, I hope no one else says anything, right? So you're thinking this because you start anticipating bad, right?
Is my hair
But that's what
cold?
this thing is. But this thing is designed to keep you alive. It's not designed to keep you happy. So I'm always making sure I have an environment that supports so much success. So one of the big things I have is making sure I'm connected with people just like yourself, with your audiences, who just makes you smile. They
Yeah.
say greetings. I'm like, hey, what's up? You know what I mean? It makes you smile because, like, man, someone's thinking about me, or someone's taking a moment to say hi. Making sure you got some really good friends, even friends that might say use some different language than you, that can keep you encouraged. And if you don't have those good friends, find a podcast. Find a podcast that makes you smile. Get on YouTube. Find things that make you smile, so that way it can encourage. It's hard to be grumpy. It's hard to have a really jacked up day when someone's doing something funny, or someone says something like, "Oh man, that's how you lost all your hair," being grouchy. And you're like, "Shut up, man, whatever." You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And
Well,
a big one is going to be, music and movies.
yeah.
If I'm having a tough day, and I don't care what anyone says, Moana is the greatest film ever created in life. I love that movie, and I will sing How Far I Go. I don't know how many times, because if you start like dancing and singing, or just singing things that make you laugh, it lights you up. And
Yeah.
there's dancing and singing in every culture for a reason. Every single culture, you can go back as far as you want. It keeps people happy. It keeps people engaged. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's when we forget, like, you'll go to a really good restaurant. I'm sure you had this experience, and it was like, oh man, they had the best breadsticks, they had the best lasagna, and
Uh-huh.
then you'll remember it the next day, you'll remember it 3 days later, but 2 weeks from now, you'll be like, where did I eat that good food at? And it was so good before. And it's the
Yeah.
same thing with happiness, or things that light you up. You will forget. So write these things down so you can say, oh, wait a minute, here's my list. You might be
Yeah.
thinking, why do you have a happiness list? Well, you have a list of bills you don't want to pay, right? You got a list of things you don't want to do. So this list makes you angry. Why not have a list that makes you smile, right?
Well, and to your point, and I think I want to dig into this a little bit, because everybody has, Jim Rohn, I think it was said and suggested that we are the accumulation of the 5 people we hang out with.
Yes.
And that doesn't necessarily mean in person, especially in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
because it can be a movie, it can be an in something, someone that influences the way you're thinking at the moment, because you're changing your thought patterns. And it's just like turning on a podcast, or listening to the pirate broadcast. It's something that has to bring you joy. It's like, you have to understand that there are things that can feed you and nourish your thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
your attitudes, and your behavior in a positive way as well as a negative way. We all have a choice. We can have 2 people go have the same experience and have 2 completely different outcomes.
Absolutely.
So I encourage everyone to go, and that's why I start with gratitude, and then fill your funnel with fuel for happiness. And I love what you're doing, Vernon, and I just
Thank
I
you.
just really appreciate it. Next year, you're going to have some programs coming out. Let's talk about that, and what people can do to get involved and engaged in maybe learning more about this and how they can practice it and maybe apply some techniques to their day. So dive into some programs that you have that people can engage in.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that. It's being in an environment. I want to say this is why I love the Pirate broadcast, because it's more positive, right? Like, look at this. We're starting off like, all right, let's get everybody pumped up and excited. So, a heck of a job. I love it. 300 episodes plus, by the way. That's consistency. So I love that. But what's going to be happening? Actually, starting Monday, I'm starting Double Down to Dominate boot camp. It's a 5-day boot camp. It comes with a workbook. We're going to make sure that we have a private Facebook group, and it's going to be led by me live. And it's going to be for people who want to figure out how to close out 2020 with like so much momentum. We would have never thought things went the way that they went this year. Yeah. Because right now, this is the time that people need to start sitting down and figuring out what I'm going to do. Sure, it's great to have goals, but we need to make sure we have action. We need to make sure that we are putting as much effort as we can. And I'm not trying to say go out and rah, rah, woo, woo, because I don't do that. I'm not that guy who's just like, oh, I'm going to motivate you. You get excited, sure, because you see more options, opportunities, possibilities, and solutions. I call it oops thinking, but you start seeing the next steps. This is about talking about boundaries. This is talking about what is happiness. This is about talking about how to have a bulletproof mindset. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And people don't talk about having fun enough, and that's what I'll be talking about as well. But it's a 5-day boot camp, and I start next week. Now,
fantastic.
I think so too. Going into next year, what this year came out, I think it was around March. I'm like, what is happening? I wasn't traveling for speaking, and rightfully so. And I'm like, what's something that can really give back and have a huge impact? So I created Own Your Happiness. Now, I ran many iterations of this course, and like, let's go full speed ahead. And at first I did 20 students, and I started going to 30 students. So now it's just like, let's open this up. It's going to be led by me. Own Your Happiness starts the first week in January. I'm kind of working out the date still. And this is going to be the next 90 days, 3 months, led by me. We are going to be pulling your life together in just so many different ways. We're going to be talking about how to better handle relationships, how to be strategically, more strategic with your conversations, how to put that business plan into place, and so you can execute on it efficiently and smart. And the big thing is, you got to have fun. Every week you're required to do something fun. I demand it. I will tell you, don't come on the call if you haven't had fun. And I mean it. Yeah. Because I want to make sure I can't ask things of you if you don't have the energy to do them, right? That's picking on someone.
Well, sometimes people just need the approval or the permission, the perceived permission to enjoy life, and it seems like, okay, I could, I just got to get it going and grind it. A lot of entrepreneurs are in the mindset, if I'm not grinding 14 hours a day, I'm not doing what I need to do to be successful. And I don't know, we could argue on that point all day long and what it takes. And, there are some requirements to be in place that we have to do for work, for business life, etc. However, it doesn't mean you have to be miserable through the process. I loved this statement one time. It's like, if you don't love what you do, learn how to love what you're doing. And I thought I thought that was such a powerful statement, because even if a task isn't necessarily the most exciting thing you could do, learn to enjoy those moments, because it teaches you how to appreciate and have gratitude for other moments in your life. So I just want to come back here and
right on to that.
Yeah, it's like my go-to happy moments for listening to Kurt Franklin. His music is so uplifting and pop.
Melodies from heaven. I hear you. I agree.
Nice. I love that. Melissa Gaines says, so agree with music, a definite go-to. May I add volunteering and giving back? Absolutely, volunteering. When you're giving back when you're helping someone else out, it's really hard to be feeling unfortunate and depressed.
Yeah,
it's like there's just something about the activity of giving back is really an empowering. Russ Hedge says, "Good morning, Russ." Thank you so much, Russ. Choose to smile and be around those who help you smile and bring you joy. That's why I love the Pirate broadcast. Little promo there. Fantastic. I love it. So thank you so much. I want to talk a little bit about I know that and I don't want to diminish anybody's circumstance or unfortunate events. However, I think one thing that kind of ties in with happiness is really reflecting on what is important in your life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we get caught up like your three rules. You don't have to buy. You don't. It doesn't require you to purchase anything. And that's a key element, because a lot of people uh, uh, they find meaning in what they're buying, the stuff that they own, and it doesn't define them. It just becomes something that they're using as a crutch to fill a void a lot of times. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, happy to. It's we have great intentions with purchases, right? Let's just say, I mentioned I got a 5-year-old. Like, it feels nice to be able to provide. It's nice to get myself some nice things.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know that, and part of the instinctual is, to be able to collect things. It's just, you want to make sure that that's not your go-to, because the last thing you want is 19% interest every month, hitting you in the face because you're after that same feeling.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think people all have great intentions, but it's recognizing, hey, who am I if I was to lose my job or lose this income? Or who was I if all of a sudden you can't you can't spend? What would you do? And that's going to leave you in a place. I've seen when these things happen, they have some life event come about, and it's like, what do I do? What do I do? I was like, well, this is the perfect time to start to think about what you can do.
Yeah.
Get curious. Everything we needed to, be successful in life, we learned when we were kids, and it's to be curious.
Yeah.
Let's got to look out there and see what can make us happy. Look at the things that used to make us happy. Let's look at see what makes Russ happy. And being curious is, the cure.
Yeah. And I think getting down and really reflecting on how we spend our time as well. Right now, 2020 is like, well, I don't necessarily need to go out anywhere to be, to fill a void or do what I need to do. I'm okay with me. I'm okay with me a lot, and I'm a networker, and I'm not necessarily an extrovert, but I'm not an introvert, maybe an ambivert. I don't know. I like being around people, and I like being by myself. I like myself. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
okay. And so those tiny moments where we're thinking about, okay, what do I need to fill the space? We're so used to having noise on all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes just being quiet and, a little form of reflection or meditation or whatever your practice happens to be. It's really important for us to sit back and understand, what is it that makes us tick? What is it that we really need to fill our lives? And sometimes the answer, when we really get honest with ourselves and we dig deep and we dive in and we say, what is it that I need to fill my life with happiness? And sometimes when we think about it and we really get honest with ourselves, the answer is different than we first anticipated.
Very different. Yeah.
So
Sometimes
have you had some experience around people changing their perspective after a few sessions with you?
oh yeah, absolutely. Especially when I meet someone and I connect with, a client, and I'm sitting back and they're telling me what they want, and I'm listening, and I'm big on let's go even deeper. Like, so you want to have more confidence. So what are you going to do when you have more confidence? Well, I'll be able to go after the significant other I want. So you have more confidence, you got the significant other you want, then what's going to happen? Well, how's it going to change your life? Well, then I have that, and I can go out and really be able to provide for my family. So you have the confidence, you have the partner you want, you provide for the family, then what are you going to do? Well, then I can really reconnect with my family and really let them know that I've been successful. And that's what that's really about. And so for me, that's a shortcut. It's like, what if I was to tell you we can work on all those things and connect with your family right now? They're like, oh, I can? Like, yeah, you can. Because sometimes we kind of, like you mentioned, like we think this is what we want. We think like, I've got to get this, I got to get this. And that's not really what you want. It's not.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's an always thing, but many times that's not the case.
Yeah, it's interesting. An interesting question that was asked of me that I thought, and it caused me to reflect a little bit, was, who are you? Describe who you are without sharing what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And it because a lot of people describe themselves by what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we turn that corner and we find out, okay, what makes you happy, and you find out who you are, it's like, okay, describe who you are without describing what you do. And it's like, okay, well, it's like, okay, I'm a broadcaster. No, that's what you
That's what you're
do.
doing.
It's not
Yeah.
who you are. So it's really a shift on what it is that you think about and what you focus on. So happiness to me is the same kind of dynamic. It's like, okay, yeah, you can spend money, you can go buy stuff, or you can, take a day off and do nothing. Somewhere in between, there's something that there's some activities that are going to trigger some happy moments, and even joy, like helping other, delivering packages to somebody for Christmas, or
Yeah.
all kinds of ideas. So I just really thank you so much for being here, Vernon. And this is a great conversation, and I love how it can change lives. So I just really appreciate what you're doing. So what triggered Vernon to get into this type of activity? What was it, Vernon, that
It's not anything
inspired you to
sensational.
do this, go down this path?
Thank you for your kind words earlier. It's not anything sensational. I didn't want to do this. I did not. I didn't. I cannot stress that enough. I'm not one of those people who said I wanted to do this. It was, I got done with a previous career. I was like traveling across the country and doing like modeling and acting, but I'm not that guy. I am an introvert. I am fine with being quiet. I don't like being on camera. I am good, right? And I got a mentor who I still talk to. He said, "You really should consider this." And I said, "I am not doing this. I stopped that in New York because I don't want to do this anymore." And he said to me, just really quickly, if anybody's ever been to a casting, you'll know what I'm talking about. But when you go to a casting, Russ,
yeah,
you're told when you're a kid and when you're an early teen that, you're special, you're unique. No, you're not. You go to casting and everybody's got a bald head. Everyone wears glasses. Everyone's got a beard. And you're like, I'm not unique. But it's, the thing that really got me a lot of success was my personality and the way that I see the world. I'm like to laugh. I love to joke. I can make anything funny.
Yeah.
Just, the way I to converse. And my mentor really brought that up. He's mentioned like you have a unique perspective on the world that's very refreshing.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm not, what do you mean do coaching? And I looked into it and I'm like, I'm not doing it. And being a great mentor, he pushed, he said, do it. I'm like, whatever, old man. He was right. And that's right. I said, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it a way that works for me. And I mentioned the energy is a big thing for me. So it's happiness. Everyone wants to be happy. And that's when what you're happy was, the impetus behind what you're happy. That's what said going to my 7th year now.
Wow. What you're happy. Love it. How do you appreciate when people connect with you?
I appreciate it because it shows a level of, I wouldn't say vulnerability, but a level of awareness that I want to make some adjustments. And for me, that's the first step. That's a huge step because most people know something needs to make some adjustments, know we need to make some change, but they don't do anything, right? I'm not picking on people. I'm just trying to say, they don't do anything. So when I see people do that, I'm like, perfect. They want to learn more about happy. They want to learn more about themselves. They want to learn more about the top 5 things that they're amazing at.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So how can pirates get a hold of you and track you down, Vernon?
All right. Well, it's a few different ways. I think one of the fastest ways is going to linktree.com and / what you're happy. And I've got a gift for everyone there. It's a 30-day planner, a 30-day challenge, a 30-day happiness challenge that I created for people just to track and come up with actionable things. And you'll see that and a few other things that I have going on, including the boot camp and On You're Happy. Another way is Vernon at whatyourhappy.com. And it's happy with an I, HAPPI. And before you ask, why an I? Because you matter.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for being here, and all of the pirates in the room. We got so many wonderful individuals that are in the pirate community. And if you're not connected with Vernon, go connect with him. Go track him down on social media. I suspect you're on social media because we're connected. So it's like, go track him down. Just mention that you're a pirate and you want to connect. And
please do.
Found this and you wanted to continue the relationship. And the experience. So as you know, thank you, Vernon, for being here. Appreciate
You're
you
welcome.
and the work that you're doing and bringing happiness to a few more people in the world, because we need it. We need it now more than any other time in history. So
We need people like you. I love it. So thank you for having me here. It was great.
thank you so much. And as always, kindness is cool. Smiles are free. And you enjoy the day. Be right back. Thank you for joining the Pirate Broadcast. If you found this content valuable, please like, comment, and share it across your social media channels. I would love the opportunity to help others grow in their business. The Pirate Syndicate is a platform where you show up, we produce the show. It's that easy. If you want to be seen, be heard, and be talked about, join the Pirate Syndicate today.